to clear up some housekeeping issues. In the past, we have taken votes and we've done it different. From now on in the future, I will call for a vote. I will look and count the ones for, and then I'll ask for the ones against, so that you have a record of what is happening. In the past, I think that I would look down, and if there were 5, I would say fine, or I'd see unanimous, I'd say unanimous, but I did not call out the no votes all the time. But in the future, I will do that. Second thing is, I'm aware that there's a gentleman on the Planning Commission that received a green card, and the petition is coming up tonight. So he's talked and we've discussed it, and he will not be voting tonight because he received a green card. And the other issue is the conflict of interest issue that we've had in the past. We had a gentleman had a conflict of interest and he didn't vote. And will that be the same thing tonight because he didn't vote on the other petition? Why would he be allowed to vote tonight?
Am I being asked a question?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay. I would assume that these issues would come up before whichever petition we're talking about. So whoever's recusing themselves needs to make that announcement before whichever petition it is.
That's what I wanted to get.
But yes, I would assume that if someone has previously recused themselves based on a perceived conflict of interest, that would continue on the same project.
I just wanted that out front tonight before we got to that, because
Well, I'm not going to recuse myself. The last time when I recused myself, I asked that question specifically.
If you had to?
And on the next time a issue come up,
you've already refused yourself once.
I did for the one vote. Then I asked
No.
you if I had to, if it meant it was a ongoing thing, or if on the next thing I could vote how I felt.
You can vote on other petitions, but not on that petition.
I think that's what he's saying. This is a different petition, isn't it?
Correct.
This is a secondary plat. That was a primary plat. This is a different petition.
I know, but he's already stated that he had some issues with the other one. It's the same.
I don't know that he
subdivision.
stated he had issues.
I
I think
did not
he
state I had
decided
issues.
to do that just to move the matter along.
Yeah.
I cannot force a member to,
Okay.
I don't have the authority to force a member to recuse themselves.
I will do the same thing I did last time, though, that I will ask the Planning Commission, those raise their hands who think Mr. Allenbaugh could vote on this petition, because he has a conflict of interest and he has not voluntarily recused himself.
There is zero procedure to allow that to occur. This
No, I
board,
read
this
it.
board has no rules to allow that kind of a vote to even take place, let alone for it to be binding. So it is an individual decision whether or not a member has a conflict of an interest. If he votes and it's later proven he did in fact have a conflict of interest, it's voided. So that's the risk that takes place. Someone would have to challenge it if he votes and it's the one swaying vote. Does that make sense? If we're
Yes,
talking
yes.
about a 5-4, that's where it's a
It
problem.
does.
If
That
it's
makes
if
sense.
it's unanimous, then this becomes a non-issue. But to call for a vote on whether to force somebody to recuse themselves, there's no procedure here to allow that.
Well, I didn't make that up. That was in one of the workshops that I attended, that was a process. And that was Deb Lazier and KK Fritz workshop, and you know those two people.
I know the name of the first woman because she drafted the UDO.
Yes.
It's not in your UDO, nor is it in your procedures. When we adopt rules of procedure, that can be something that takes place, but
So to go forward, what you're saying is we'll let Mr. Allenbaugh vote, and if someone wants to challenge that later, they can challenge it, and the vote would be,
the decision that would ultimately be the decision of the board. So for example, if the primary plat is approved on a 5-4 vote and he's the swing vote
then it would not be valid.
and it's challenged and it's found he has a conflict, it would not be valid.
Thank you. Very good. That's adequate.
So, in my situation, when I receive a notice, is that a conflict?
Typically, if you've received a notice and you're considered an interested party, there is a strong perception that you would be biased in the project, one way or the other, because you are an interested party. Again, I am not allowed to make that decision for you. I have had commission members statewide who have publicly said, I received a notice, but I am not biased either way. I don't care about the project, and it's up to you. But traditionally, yes, I see statewide with different boards that if you receive a notice, a green card as a interested party, people will recuse themselves.
I think the last.
There's no rules on this.
So there's no statute saying you have to abstain?
There's no statute that says if you are someone who receives notice as an interested party, you must recuse yourself. There is no such statute that says that. I can find, I feel like we discuss this often. I can find the conflict of interest statute again and read it.
Refresh my memory.
Is that the one you sent out on the email?
I did send it out on email, yeah. Let me find that email.
A couple meetings ago, when Ms. Schofield received a green card on the petition for the Kentucky Fried Chicken, she indicated she received a green card, and what were you told?
But I could not vote on it.
I think it's.
I was not allowed to vote on it.
That was not last, was it last meeting or the meeting before last?
It's been a few meetings.
If memory serves, the comments that she made actually demonstrated the bias that she was having, and that's what raised the concern. It was not that she received a green card, it was her open comments that were made, and if you intentionally start making comments that are biased, legal counsel is going to step in and say you've demonstrated, even though you want to claim you can't be, you've demonstrated that you are. So I would have
What comments
encouraged,
were those? I made no comments about that.
I would have encouraged it
project.
if I remember.
Well, to make it easy, I'm not biased, but I will abstain from the secondary plat.
Which project are we talking about? There's
Number,
two.
the one at Grand Oaks.
Any other housekeeping issues we need to discuss?
Do you still want me to find the conflict of interest statute and read it?
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
Indiana
I would have
code
been
has
prepared had I
a
known.
statute.
Sorry?
Indiana code has a
That's what I'm
statute.
looking up. Do you want me to read it?
IC 36-7-4-223.
Literally staring at it. Do you want me to read it? Yes?
No, I take your comments to be correct, and we will move forward.
Tammy, the notes, the meeting minutes tonight must reflect the disqualification of the member who, so John, please reflect that he is recusing himself from the one vote.
And so he does not take,
He cannot comment.
just yes, yes.
If he's recused himself, he cannot make comments, he cannot vote.
Okay.
Is there anybody else on this board who has a bias or prejudice against any of the petitions before tonight? If anybody has a bias,
I don't have a
Or
bias, but
prejudice.
I'm removing myself.
I understand, I'm just, if we're going to call out conflict of interest, I guess I have a responsibility now to perhaps ask the entire board, is there anybody who has a bias or prejudice against either petition? And if so, then you should recuse yourself. Or if there's any member who has a direct or indirect financial interest in the outcome of this decision, should recuse themselves. Those are the two statutory requirements.
Thank you. We will move
I
forward.
think we have somebody in the audience that had,
There's no, this isn't a public hearing yet. We can't get too out of order.
Are we ready to move forward?
Your meeting, sir.
Pardon? Thank you. Let us start with approval of the Planning Commission minutes on August. got about 3 groups to approve here, and they're quite lengthy. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 pages. This is the one that we had the issue on, I think. Yeah. I got September. Okay. Do we have any changes or additions to the August minutes? I think there was one issue that we had at the last meeting. About 1 vote.
I think we tabled the minutes discussion because our legal counsel had a substitute because she was unable to be here, and she had expressed how we were supposed to be voting in the future, and our secretary was not able to be here, and she had questions that so we had chosen to table this. But based upon our attorney's comments and the comments that our chair made earlier, I would recommend that we strike the parts that did not happen during the meeting where it states who voted opposed. As Mr. Young said, he did not call for those votes, so those votes did not happen. So I would just recommend that we strike those since those are not accurate in the minutes.
And that's the August meeting.
So I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes with those stricken pieces.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Which minutes are you talking about? Are we
Right.
talking August only?
August.
August.
Okay, your motion didn't include that, I'm sorry.
I'm
There's
sorry.
3 months that are
I'll
pending,
revise
I'm
my
not sure which
motion.
one we're talking about.
That the August minutes be approved with the stricken parts declaring who voted against, since it was determined in our housekeeping earlier on that never happened. And the minutes should only reflect things that happened, not assumptions that didn't happen.
Do we have a motion then?
That's a motion.
That's a
and a second.
motion.
It'd be a vote.
You need a vote.
Did we get a second?
Josh seconded.
Judge seconded. All those in favor? Motion carries
Uh,
unanimous, didn't it?
Did she vote?
Did she vote?
Did you vote, Tammy?
I abstained from the vote.
Okay. I think everybody else voted.
Okay, so we have 8 votes. Next is the September minutes. Do we have any changes or additions to the September minutes? Do we have a motion to accept?
I'll make a motion, we accept the September minutes as presented.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
I think that one was unanimous.
Unanimous. Next, November minutes. Any changes or additions?
My name was spelled 2 different ways. I have an H in my name, just
At the top,
for future reference.
let's keep it to there.
Is there,
It's
can you
spelled
identify? where
sometimes
it is?
right and sometimes wrong.
Okay. That's
That's
correct?
correct, yeah.
Okay.
And
Was
then
there
there's
some-
just sometimes where it's
Was there-
without the H, so just,
I don't think I showed anywhere. So
okay.
in this case,
We have a motion to
Yep.
accept the September.
Yep,
are you
No, I
making
mean November.
November?
yeah.
We have a motion.
She's
We
making a
have a
motion.
second.
I'll
I'll
second.
second. I don't
All
care.
those in favor? Tammy didn't vote, you weren't here.
I wasn't here, I'm going to abstain on that one.
That's right.
Okay, all right, so
Thank you.
8 and 1 abstention, all right.
Next item on the agenda, secondary plat at Grand Oaks. Oh, no, we need to approve this, just stay there, John, this schedule is in front of you.
Right hand.
Pardon, the right half. So do I have a motion to
It should be in
approve
your
the,
packet.
the schedule?
I thought.
I'll make a motion, we approve the schedule presented.
Did everybody go look at it?
No,
I haven't seen it.
I think it was left on and the BZA members took it.
We can do that for, in the portion at the end, a new business, can't we? Let those people look at it?
Yeah.
So pass that on down to the other gentleman and let them look at it.
I've got it,
And
I'm
we'll-
good.
So the next item is the secondary plat at Grand Oaks.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm John Larison, Holloway Engineering. I would like to start out by thanking the overly generous member of the Plan Commission who recused himself, probably needlessly, but I appreciate your integrity. I appreciate your sensitivity to the need that there's no doubt. And I certainly look forward, as we bring new members onto the Plan Commission next year, that they will act with the same integrity and go above and beyond to show that type of integrity on this board. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
Having said that, we are here tonight for Grand Oaks, Section 1, Secondary Plat. I'd like to remind you that this is an administrative procedure. We're here to approve a secondary plat. We're not here for zoning issues tonight. We are here having passed the hurdle of preliminary approval for the subdivision, and we're here tonight for secondary approval. And the issue in front of you is, does this plat meet the town of Mooresville's UDO for a subdivision zoned R1C? R1C, all lots must meet the 12,000 square foot minimum, and all 66 lots do meet that 12,000 square foot threshold. This is a subdivision of 32.5 acres divided into 66 lots, streets, and common areas.
Wait a minute. How many acres? Oh, and I'm sorry. You're just doing one section. That's what confused me.
Yes, this section is 32.5.
Sorry. Yes.
We do believe that we have met all of the questions to the satisfaction of all of the requests of the technical review committee for this subdivision. At the last technical review committee, we were asked one simple question, and that was to furnish the Plan Commission with a copy of our covenants and restrictions, and we have furnished those to the president. We do believe that we've fulfilled all of the requirements of the Mooresville UDO at this time. We've fulfilled the requirements of the routing sheet that is required, and all of the agencies required have signed off on the design. If you have any questions of any nature, but especially of a technical nature, I've got Jeremy Kaiser here with me tonight. He is our senior designer and the designer of the subdivision and infrastructure. We'll be happy to answer any questions.
I'm going to pass these so people can look at the covenants. It's quite a lengthy package there for us to comprehend tonight. Questions or concerns from the planning commission? I got one question. The construction entrance. All of these vehicles, the trucks, the concrete trucks going to go in off of Hadley Reel on this? Yes? Thank you. So it will not be going through Grandview?
No, sir.
Very good.
You said that you have a completed routing sheet to all the utilities. Do you have a copy of that?
That was presented actually to the secretary, and she does have the routing sheet, the completed routing sheet.
All the sign off in the file?
I do not find it here, but I will look again. I have a routing sheet, but it is not filled out. So I'm looking for a filled out version.
Got Allison and Grand Oaks a little mixed up.
Oh,
She's
okay.
got Allison's,
Okay. So you got a sign off from the UDO Administrator Dave Moore and the Fire Chief Dalton. Is that the fire? Okay, now that's the chief. And from Hill Water, I don't see a sign off for Terry Brock or for the county as a county surveyor.
He is the county surveyor.
I don't see a sign off for him.
what, we need that?
It's on the form. I'm assuming you'd need that according to the UDO. Are you representing it as an administrator tonight?
He did, I know he signed off. I don't know where the paper is,
Yes, he did.
but I know he signed off. Terry Brockfield.
I know Terry
Are
signed
you
off on
representing as the
Allison.
administrator tonight?
Sure.
You have a written report for us?
No.
UDO says you're supposed to provide us a written report.
Okay.
I don't see a written report. So, but stay up here. Stay up here. But you've read through all this on the your written report would say you've read through all this information and that you have agreed that they have satisfied all the requirements that are here. That's what your written report would say?
Yeah.
All right, so I just want to make sure, I mean, the minutes can serve as your written report since you don't have one.
I know Terry Brock sent an email to Dave, I know that. I know he wrote off, signed off on it.
We had talked with the last time, and I know you weren't available to be here last time, but we had talked about in the back end of the Technical Advisory Committee or the TAC Committee definition that ones affected include representatives of the planning department, which we don't have, the building department, utilities, police department, fire department, county surveyor, which you said that he did send an email. We don't have evidence of that, but you said that, and schools. Do you know if the schools ever responded?
I don't know.
Okay. So, okay. All right. Thanks, Tim.
We're just trying to be thorough.
Okay.
Comments, questions from the planning commission?
John, I have a question for you. In the covenants and restrictions that we were presented on the last one of these, there was quite a bit of discussion about how the plan commission would be involved, rather than reading through the 10 or 12 pages that are here. Can you tell me, does that still exist in this, or has that been
I am
taken?
assuming that you're referring to the ability to
Be on the committee?
enforce.
Right,
And that was removed
Okay.
from these covenants and restrictions. I'll be happy to read through that. I believe it's on the last page or the second to last page, under number 27, violations. Would you like for me to read it, or?
No,
It
just
might
if
help,
that's- if
because
that's
they
where-
don't all have it in front of them. I'll be happy to
We were, in the one that was presented before us at the time, it was unusual for us to be involved in the discussion and enforcement of that, and that was presented, and we had a lot of discussion. Matter of fact, our attorney had expressed concerns about that, and that became a point of issue.
Yes.
And if that's no longer in here,
I would like to go ahead and read it, just
Okay.
for the record, since you are the only one with a copy. It's number 27, violations. Enforcement shall be by proceedings outlawed by the developer, lot owners association, or individual lot owner against any person or persons, partnership, corporation, violating or attempting to violate any covenants. And then it goes into injunctive relief and enforcement, and talks about attorney's fees, et cetera. But it is, again, outlawed by developer, lot owners association, or individual lot owner. So that was addressed.
so in essence, there is that one section, but then the rest of this, that there is no requirement of the plan commission or the town administration to be involved in this like there was in the last
That's
version
right.
that you submitted.
That's right.
Okay. Because our job in the secondary plat is to ensure that these exist and that these are filed with the recording of it. It's not, that's pretty standard for us. So this sounds more standard than what we had in the past.
Keep in mind, this is today's version. This isn't necessarily a final version. Obviously, there are several instances where ordinance numbers are not intact. So it will undergo at least some minor changes in that aspect.
Okay. Then I assume, based upon that comment, that you will follow then the UDO, that at the it does not have to be tonight that this is, we have to make sure they exist, but it
Yes.
doesn't have to be tonight.
And they
but it
do
has
need to be recorded prior to the recordation of the
Exactly.
plat.
Yeah, if you follow the UDO, that's what it
Yes.
says. So, yeah, there is that time period between there. So if you do make changes and prior to that recording, that's fine, but afterwards you can't, so. Okay, thank you.
Other comments or questions from the planning commission before I ask the public to speak? Anyone from the public wish to speak? In doing so, please state your name and address.
Do you have anybody on the list? Or is there anybody who said they wanted to speak? I guess we don't have a list.
Yeah, isn't there a sign-in sheet down there?
Is there a sign-in sheet down there?
Yeah, there is.
They don't call because you can't get their names.
Yeah, that's right.
Good evening. I'm Jeffrey Turley, 4833 East Hadley Road. I also wish to commend Josh for volunteering to recuse himself and sticking to high standards of ethical values on this matter. I don't know how you would be voting on anything, but I think it's a sign of integrity that you took that route. I wish to inquire, because I'm not certain if the petitioner this evening is still agreeing to prior commitments made on this project. I've got copies that I'll hand to each of you on some prior commitments made on this project. And I think they all need to be addressed or reviewed by the Planning Commission to make certain that we don't have a whole new ballgame here or things we're uncertain of.
Thanks.
There were several voluntary commitments made on prior occasions by the petitioner on this matter, and I hope that these commitments are still valid, or at least have been improved upon on it. I'm particularly concerned regarding commitment number 3 on their prior occasions regarding issues of some mounds and berms which read prior to completion of those phases or sections of the development where lots adjoin the south and east lines of the subdivision, landscaping mounds shall be constructed that are not less than 6 feet in height at the peak, with side slopes that are not steeper than 3 feet horizontal to 1 foot vertical. Mounds should be constructed to be undulating and serpentine with breaks and gaps as needed to provide for surface drainage along said south and east lines. 1 canopy tree, 1 understory tree, and 10 evergreen trees shall be planted every 100 lineal feet. In addition to that, written commitment. The petitioner on a prior occasion on a meeting that we were happy and a cordial meeting at Mr. Holloway's office on April 5th, the petitioner committed to fencing a 4-fence line along the west, or rather the east and south elevations of the project, of the development. And we hope also that that is still a commitment and is insisted upon by the Planning Commission this evening. Finally, I do wish to have further comment regarding the issues of conflict of interest. And I do still believe that Mr. Allenball is subject to issues of a conflict of interest. And there is the Indiana statute directly addresses that. And if we have a vote this evening that perhaps that we don't agree to, we may challenge that issue. So I just wish to express that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak?
Or, excuse me, just real quick, should the petitioner get a copy of this so they can go through it and see?
Yeah, I was going to ask John, do you have this? Because I believe Exhibit B is actually what was attached as commitments and recorded with the zoning.
I would like to see that
I don't know about,
if there are details that I need.
That's why I wanted to ask before I gave it to you.
yeah, I think this is what you were, at least, I think they've been they should have been recorded with your prior document.
I'm sorry.
Okay. My name's Eileen Mathers. My husband, Jim Mathers, and myself are the sole south border property owners adjacent to Grand Oaks and will be directly affected by this development. We have owned our property 25 years and have established a hardwood tree farm that is enrolled in the classified forest program with the state. I would like to make a few points stating our concern. Number one, we have a corner of Grandview that borders our property. Our experience with multiple homeowners on our property line has been difficult. We have had trespassers, Grandview homeowners cut down our farm fence and put up double gates, by mowing our property, illegal hunters, and trash dumping. Now with an added 16 lots, a retention pond, and a through road, there is great potential for problems. We have made a heavy financial and environmental commitment with this property, hoping to maintain its property value and providing a hardwood forest. We request fencing and mounding to define boundaries and to act as a deterrent for trespassers and intruders. Fencing provides security and safety, and although fence issues may feel petty, they impact property rights, which are incredibly important. We know fences do work, and our request is that Grand Oaks provide mounding and fencing that had been promised at 2 to 3 Plan Commission meetings. The fence was a commitment made by the petitioner to adjoining property owners at a meeting April 5th, 2021, and on prior occasions as a pledge to the Planning Commission. We are good neighbors and anticipate to continue to be so, but Grand Oaks is the entity that came in on us, and we expect that they honor their word to their new neighbors and validate their credibility. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Please state your name and address.
Yes, my name is Brian Turley. I live at 13342 North Allison Drive. I would just like to ask, is there any plans in the secondary plat? I haven't seen, I'm not privy to the plans, so is there any fencing plan for the property? Jeremy, do you know?
I mean, yeah, we have to provide plans for the secondary plat.
Good question.
Can you just tell me,
Fencing is not something that's required under a secondary plat.
Okay, so that's
So they're talking about, this, only special requirements that the Plan Commission can impose are street, curb, gutter, and sidewalk design and construction, installation of public utilities, including water, sewer, and stormwater drainage.
When does that get addressed in this process, if you could tell me?
Fencing?
Yeah.
I don't know that it does.
Oh, it never really does?
I don't know that, because I don't believe that they're required to go through development plan approval. I'm not entirely sure on that, but I don't know that this project has to go through development plan approval, and that's
Okay.
traditionally when you find that.
Okay.
But the mounding that you're talking about, Mr. Larison will have to speak to, I thought these were already committed to and recorded. So these
Okay.
are already, these things are
And what
happening.
about the fencing? Wasn't there some discussion about, so no fencing at all? So you're reneging on that commitment?
Wait, if you're asking me personally?
I'm just asking what's in
There
the,
was discussion at some point during the process about a fence. The fence was offered, in fact, as a fig leaf at the time when we were attempting to change the covenants and restrictions to the existing PUD. However, the fence went away when that was denied by Plan Commission.
okay, so the commitment to do that's just off the table, so you,
That
so there's a,
single commitment is off the table. All of the others, including the landscaping mounds to the specifications, listed the height,
okay,
the steepness, et cetera,
okay,
along with the landscaping requirements on the mound, are all recorded commitments.
gotcha, thanks, John.
Yes.
So, again, I think there were some, if my memory serves me correct, along especially the west side of the property, I thought there were some safety issues regarding a retention pond. Am I wrong in thinking that? It's been a while since that's been discussed, but I would also say that properties to the south as well as the east have retention ponds, or ponds, I should say, that are much closer than the ones on the west. So if that was a safety concern, then that should be something that I would think that the Planning Commission should address. But be that as it may, that's all I had to say. Again, I'm not opposed to the development, never have been. I think my family feels the same way, just trying to make sure that it all happens in accordance to all the legal issues that are out there. And if you guys would speak to the fence, or at least implore the petitioner to think about that, I think it would be best for all. So thank you very much for your time.
What's the ponds that you're talking about?
Well, there's a pond to the east. There's a retention pond in Grandview, of course. I think, Eileen, do you have water on your property as well?
No, this retention pond will be on us.
Okay, okay. And then there's one to the east as well that is much closer than the one to the west. So I just want to point that out. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
Drainage is important.
Pardon?
Drainage is an important question.
Yes. Anyone else from the public who's to speak? Planning Commission. You have anything, Jeffrey?
I do have a few questions regarding the fencing. There is fencing shown in a future section that you provided in this, a 48-inch chain link fence along the retention pond on what would be the southwest corner of that would border between that and the existing Grandview. I'm assuming you're going to go ahead and install that now when you're putting in that retention pond, since it's in the set of plans. But I do not, and I'm sorry?
It is in the plans, and if it's in the plans, it will be built.
Okay. I do not see hydrants on the water in future sections I see are you going to install the water lines in those future sections, but not install the hydrants right now? Is that your intention? Because the plans indicate that.
Yeah, no, why would we? There's not going to be any homes.
So are you installing the water lines at this time?
Not in the future sections, no.
then why are they on the plans?
Aren't they grayed out?
No.
Okay, because we were
So
just showing you where it was going to be in the
So you're telling me the
future.
plans are wrong? Is that what you're telling me?
No, plans are just future. It says future section 2,
Yeah.
is it not? And the water line's in that section, is it not?
But you show a retention pond in a future section.
That retention pond's gonna be built in section 1. Both ponds are gonna be built in
Okay,
section
but
1,
that's
which is shown
in it.
on the construction plan.
That's in a future section, is that right?
Right.
And so is the fence that's surrounding that, right? So
Yes.
why wouldn't I think other utilities might be installed that are shown on these
Where's
plans?
the comment for the water line? We didn't receive any comments at the tech review,
Okay.
but you're bringing it up now, so in the tech review for these comments?
He was absent from the tech.
Can I not ask a question?
I know, but you're coming at me pretty hard, man.
Yeah, let's keep
Come on.
it civil, and I'm going to ask you, please, as the petitioner, I am going to ask you to respect that and also use some common sense when you read those plans.
Okay.
If you do see water line in a future section, you can assume that it's not going to be built until it needs to be. Same thing with the fire hydrants, or Mr. Dieterline, we might build it if we want to. But at this time, we're not required to, and we won't.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can I ask you a question since you're standing there then?
Yes.
Regarding the mounds that you talked about, that are along Hadley Road, that are detailed in here, and the mounds that would border the west, east, and south property lines, it looks like in your plans that you only extend those mounds in the current section and do not extend them around the border around the entire property, as was discussed earlier in the primary plat. So it looks like you're stopping the mounds at the end of section 1. Is that true? I'm referencing sheet 104.2 if you're looking in your plans. Lots 92, 93, 94, 95, 96 do not have mounds in the future section.
Yep.
So
The
I'm
mounds
trying to
will
understand your
be
construction
built
method.
as the sections are built. Typically, that's where the dirt comes from. It comes out of the excavation for the roadways. It comes from the excavation between the pads, which drainage area is usually about 1.5 to 2 feet lower. So those are typically built section by section. And let's think about what the object of the mounds is. The object of the mounds is to screen and provide screening for both the residents in the new subdivision and the adjoining property owners as homes are built.
Okay, fair.
So I'm going to ask you if that question is truly germane to approval. If you feel like it is, the answer is they're typically built and they will be built per section. But in addition to that, I'm going to ask you if that is truly germane to what we're here for tonight.
And then I ask you something that maybe is germane to that?
Absolutely.
I actually will validate that it is germane for tonight based on the UDO. If you look at internal review 3 to standards, under section 5, every effort shall be made to protect adjacent residential areas from potential nuisance from non-residential developments. So I think the building of mounds is in fact germane to tonight.
And absolutely, in that area where we're going to have construction activity, both excavation and home building, the mounds will be built in order to provide that relief.
So there won't be any activity beyond section 1 in any of the rest of the sections in this construction?
Not along that east property line, there will not be.
Then how are you going to install the
The
water lines that you referenced?
subdivision, section 1 is coming off of Hadley Road and then wrapping to the west and coming down along the east line of Grandview. The only other construction is moving further south to the south line of the subdivision where we will be building a retention pond. But again, in that area, there won't be any home building and there won't be ongoing construction after that pond is built.
So based on your testimony here, that you are not going to construct those mounds at this time on the future sections, just in section 1, and you said earlier that it serves as a buffer, a visual buffer, or a barrier between this property and other property, it does not prevent trespassers from coming from one property into the other, based upon what you were saying. I don't see that you provided every opportunity.
I don't believe that
nuisance
the
from
mounds
occurring.
will prevent trespass.
But a fence might, right? As you have presented down in the retention pond, obviously a fence is thought, and I just heard you say you were adding a fence.
And let
for
me
those
follow up, since this seems to be becoming quite argumentative for some reason. In an unbiased proceeding, it really shouldn't.
I agree.
I
don't know why
believe,
you're arguing with
I
me.
believe that we've advanced it well into the bias stage at this point. However,
That's your.
however,
Please don't lecture me.
however, may I speak? However, I will tell you that in the construction atmosphere, that mounds are built when dirt is available. The extra dirt comes from the excavated roadways, the excavated swales, the swales between the pads. We'll make every effort to build as many as we can, but we can't create dirt. So we are guaranteeing that we will build the ones adjacent to Section 1 at the time of construction of Section 1.
So you're not committing that you'll do any more?
At this time, are we committing to any more?
Is this a secondary?
We
plat
are
of the
not.
whole thing? Is this a secondary plat of the whole thing or of phase 1?
Phase 1.
So we don't even need to be talking about the other phases because this is a secondary plat of the phase 1. Let's stay in our lane.
Thank you.
So you can't look at what's going to happen there in the future.
No, because it's the future, so you don't know what's going to happen. You can't commit them to things today for something that's not before you. You're responsible to review the secondary plat that's before you today. Your responsibility will be to review the primary and secondary plat of the future phases in the future. That's when you ask those questions. You have a very simple task tonight, is to just look at the secondary plat for the phase that they're in. That's it.
And I'd like to point out that you've had these plans now for weeks. We have been to multiple technical review meetings with this town in the technical review committee, of which you're a part. At the last technical review meeting, the only question that was raised concerned the covenants and restrictions.
So if that's the case, then why was your paperwork incomplete when you submitted it, and why is it incomplete tonight?
I don't believe it is incomplete.
I pointed out that
I believe that
Mr. Brock, you stated, Mr. Brock did not sign that document.
Mr. Brock has seen those plans and spoken with your town's administrator at length several times. And if he failed, or the town failed in some way to get an initial, despite the fact that there's been an agreement that he's on board with the subdivision and has no problems with the subdivision, again, I think it's a moot point. Your administrator told you that he sent an email and told him that he approved of the subdivision. At some point, we have to listen to your administrator as well.
I understand that.
Okay.
But you're also telling me
Point
and
of order.
arguing with me that you have not, that I have had these plans for weeks and could not have comment on them. I'm surprised that we have not seen you complete the paperwork as you're required to do in the UDO. It's disappointing, John.
Mr. Chairman, point of order. Can we move this along? I've seen the document that was signed by the town representatives that they had no comment regarding the project. That is a document, I don't have the copy with me, but I have seen that document.
Did you receive a written report?
We are talking about things that are not germane to the secondary plot here for approval. We're not talking about anything beyond that, and it's very specific what we can approve under the secondary plot. Anything more than that, I think is going beyond the reach of the discussions here. This is a design-build project when you talk about dirt work. That simplifies the process. We talk about source of materials for building retaining walls and mounds and all of that. We need to move this thing along so that we can either approve or disapprove.
We are
But-
only trying to follow the UDO.
And I think we are following the
Which hasn't
UDO
been
because,
followed in the
the point of
past.
order, the document is out there, the administrator has agreed and has signed off on it. If we can't take the word of the administrator, then whose word can we take?
Then why does it go to the tech meeting after the administrator said?
I can't
We
answer
might
that
as well
question for you. You know,
Forego
I
the
just-
tech meeting and just let the administrator bring it here.
It borders on ridiculous, Chairman, if we don't get this thing moving along. We're looking at, approving the secondary plot, and a lot of the other issues we're talking about are moot points because the documents are out there. We've got commitment by the administrator that the documents are out there, and I think we need to move this project along.
In an effort to appease both sides, if a member of the Plan Commission wanted to this evening, make a motion to pass contingent upon the signature from Terry Brock. I would be more than able to reach out to him tomorrow via email, provide a copy once I've received it to the board. Once it's been sent out, signatures could be attached. Could we make it contingent upon receiving that signature? I know that plans have been submitted to Terry Brock. I know that he has been in and out of the office with the holidays over the last couple of weeks. Dave may have it in his email. There may be a copy of it in the building department's office, the utility department's office, but I would be more than glad to send out the signed copy for the members to see, if that is the item that is holding this up.
Yes, you could make that motion that it would be contingent upon demonstration of all signatures. You can do that, if a majority of the board even cares.
I think in the last planning commission meeting, in another petition, we asked for those signatures, and I think that UDO calls for them. We're only following the rules. Some members of this committee have been called out for not following the rules. We are following the rules now.
We have worked on the routing sheet that you're talking about for 60 days. Multiple parties have had that on their desk. We only today received from one of the agencies involved, I'm not here to point fingers or just, we've got problems with our UDO. It's a brand new UDO. Everybody's struggling with using it. There's been a good faith effort, an ongoing 60-day good faith effort to meet your routing requirements. I spoke with Mr. Moore earlier today to make sure that, on the phone, to make sure that each and every one had been received. I got a confirmation that they had been. I'm very surprised tonight to find that Terry Brock only emailed his approval instead of forwarding the actual routing sheet with his signature. But we've addressed this ad nauseum at this point.
And I believe that he emailed that. I know I've received the one for Allison. I believe he emailed them because of time constraints. He wanted to make sure that they were present.
To make amends with your discussion with Mr. Dieterlen going back and forth, Mr. Dieterlen is only trying to follow the UDO.
I appreciate that, Mr. Dieterlen.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Larson. Thank you, gentlemen. Do we have a motion that we will get the sign off at a later date to Tammy? I guess we can put that in the motion of the plat later, or do we want to do that now?
Well, it depends on how you want to make the motion. You can make a motion to approve without it. You could make a motion to approve contingent that is added. Or someone can make a motion to deny. Those are your options.
Okay, we'll figure that out when it comes time.
I make a motion, we approve the secondary plat application contingent upon receipt of the signed
I don't know
documents.
that we're done discussing
I'm
it.
sorry, I thought he was calling for a motion.
I thought you called for a motion too, my apologies.
Agreed.
No, I wanted to know if you wanted a motion just on the comment that Tammy made, that we,
You don't have to motion the comment that Tammy made.
because what she said,
She just made a comment.
okay. Now, anyone else from the planning commission like to speak? Comments, concerns? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the secondary plat contingent upon receipt of the signed documents in question regarding approval by the various individuals and agencies and offices for the town and the county, as so stated, were available by the administrator.
Second.
All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All those against? And note that Mr. Allenbaugh voted and he was the swing vote in case something comes up in the future. Thank you.
There were 4 against? There were 4 against?
No.
There were 3 against,
Three
so
against.
that's,
He recused himself.
Josh didn't vote.
Josh didn't vote. So there's one abstention. 5 for, 3 against, and 1 abstention.
The next item on the agenda is
that's not a swing vote. That's a
County Line
majority.
Road.
5-3.
Yeah, 5-3 is a swing vote, 4-3 is majority, right?
No, 4-3 would be a denial.
John, do we need to sign paperwork tonight?
I don't know.
We can do it after the meeting. I just didn't know if you wanted us to stay. I don't want people to leave if there's something we need to sign.
Actually, the secondary plat, probably the signatures need to wait.
Okay. That's fine. That's fine. I don't want people to leave if they have to sign things. Thank you. Next agenda item. Did you announce it?
Now I announced the next agenda item. Yes, County Line Road.
Allison Estates.
Allison Acres.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Paul Clare with Pipe Builders, the developer for Allison Estates.
Very clear.
With me tonight is Jeremy Kaiser and John Larson Holloway. I think you guys know them. It's a little uncomfortable for me, but having the conversation about recusing yourself for having an interest or indirect or direct, I asked Mr. Young, does your son farm the Allison Estates
Yes,
property?
yes.
Okay.
Has for many years.
Yes. And if we buy this property and develop it, and therefore it's not going to be farmed next year, would that have an effect on your son?
Not really, he's already got more property. He has all he can take,
Okay.
so when he lost that, he's already got new property.
So I would ask if under the same conversation that y'all had earlier, if there should be a consideration on your behalf
I'll
to
recuse
recuse
myself,
yourself.
but it shouldn't be, but I would.
Are you officially recusing yourself
No,
from?
I don't think so, no.
Oh, okay.
I have no interest that would cause
Okay.
anything, but thank you.
Just wanted to make sure that we were keeping the same standards that we've heard earlier, so, fair enough. For the record, again, my name is Paul Clare with Pipe Builders. We are presenting tonight the secondary plat for Allison Estates Section 1. We were here last month, had a lot of conversation about the UDO and what needed to be done and what was missing and so on. Unfortunately, we kind of got caught in that with the administrator not being here. Again, I think this routing sheet was a conversation last month. I think there were a few concerns that because that wasn't done, wasn't certain that things were in order. So that has been completed. The routing sheet has been filled out, and it's completed. It's gone. This project has gone to TAC a couple of different times, and I believe all of the comments have been addressed that have been made. So we are here requesting secondary plat approval for Allison Estates Section 1. And I'd be more than happy to answer any
Questions or
questions.
comments from the planning commission?
Paul, do you have copies of your covenants and restrictions you said?
They were filed with the primary plat, if you recall. I do have a copy with me tonight. Again, as your UDO calls out, they are just to be filed with you prior to recording of the secondary plat. I can provide a copy if, Jeff, if you want it for the file.
No, it's not necessary. I mean, it's not in here, but no, it's not, if it's with the primary plat, that's fine. Just as I asked in the last one, I don't think this was the case when we looked at it before, but in no way do you bind the plan commissioner or the town in any enforcement of that, right?
No, as a matter of fact, in looking at your UDO, I believe it suggests that, or maybe requires, a statement be put on the face of the plat. And so if you look at the plat, that statement is on there, I think almost verbatim from your UDO.
Right. And just for your edification, the reason why we do that is we have had people come to us.
You don't want to be in that business, I understand.
And we say, we don't have anything to do with that, that's a
Absolutely.
private issue. So thank you for clarifying that for me, thank you. And I did find their sign-off document.
Perfect.
And it looks like all the people have signed off on it.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Other questions, comments from the board? Anyone from the public wish to speak?
You can't cherry pick recusals.
Name and address.
Shane Williams, 400 Northridge Drive, Mooresville, Indiana. If your son had a financial interest, he has a financial interest. It doesn't matter how much farmland there is. You cannot cherry pick recusals to get an outcome
I
that
am
you want.
going to vote.
That's fine.
I'm going to vote
That's
present.
fine. But I'm going to tell you this, it looks extremely biased out here, what happened tonight, especially with you coming to the town council against the last project, right?
You know
And
what?
using false information about the school system and school funding, that it would hurt the schools. That was false information.
Stay right there. What information?
Sir, you don't order me what to do, but I'm going to tell you what, you cannot cherry pick recusals.
What happened?
I'm
Why
done.
did-
Thank you.
You just made a statement there that's inaccurate.
That's right. I made a statement that I stand by to the newspaper.
Thank you very much. I would like to know what the information about the schools and things.
I can share it, I can replay it for you later.
Was that in a meeting?
Yes.
I would respectfully request that that conversation be removed
Has
from
nothing
our
to do with you.
Exactly.
We're
So,
very clear on that.
we've got, you look like you guys have had a long agenda tonight, and I would appreciate you all just to move on.
Any other questions or comments from the board?
I do have one question, Paul, if you don't mind. Just point of clarity and for now and in the future. I appreciate that you have phase 2 and phase 1, and you're just asking for phase 1 at this time, right?
That's correct.
And I know that there are buffers that you have planned to put in phase 2 up here, right? And those are not shown, which is appropriate. It's also appropriate, nothing is planning to be done in phase 2 right now in terms, because your retention and everything is in phase 1, is that correct?
The intent would be to focus mostly on phase 1. If, because our retention is in section 1, if we have to do a dirt balance, as Mr. Larson talked about before, we may have to move some dirt in section 2 just to make sure that we don't come up short of dirt in section 2.
Right.
And because we're going to be generating some topsoil, we may choose, if this is the board's, if the board allows this, we may choose to go ahead and build the mound along the north property line that's required by ordinance. There is a 5-foot tall mound.
Yeah.
If not, I won't do it now. I'm just suggesting that it could be done now if the site allows for it.
Yeah, I'm not here to tell you means and methods on how to do your construction, but at the same time, I just want to point out that you are doing phase 2 later, and that there's no work occurring in phase 2, so that's why we don't see anything there. So I just wanted to make sure that was a point of clarity. Thank you.
Just had a question about, I noticed there's a line of trees on the east and south side of that parcel.
Okay.
Are you keeping those?
We're going to keep as much of them as we can. It costs to take trees out, and we just as soon leave them, but there would have to probably be some that will be coming out just to make room for lots and homes and so on, but we'll keep as much of those as we possibly can.
I just know there's one house on the south that is closest to the
And I've been
development
talking with
area.
them. Mr. Hagmeyer, I've been talking with him for the last nearly year now.
I was just curious, because that's a nice natural corridor for.
Yeah. And there's actually a stream that runs through his area, in the back of his area, that kind of comes up, just almost touches the backside of our property, but anyway.
On that point, I know that you did not give us a full set of construction drawings, and that's fine.
You should have a full set of construction plans on file.
Oh, they may be there. I just didn't look at them and see. Do you know this is kind of boilerplate here, but do you know in your site clearing section, if you talk about protecting existing trees and vegetation in that? I mean, there's a section in here that's kind of boilerplate that says that you will protect them and from breaking, skinning, root,
And you're actually looking at the Grand Oak
This
plan.
is Grand Oaks. I
Okay.
understand that, and I didn't realize we had your drawings there. So I'm just
I'm
asking
going to
you.
suggest that they probably use a similar standard in our plans as well.
No, I mean, I'm not going to tell you means and methods. I was just curious if you knew, if you had, to address her question, that typically you'll put in there protection of existing vegetation.
Fair enough.
And you stated. I'm sorry, Dave, did you have a comment? No. Oh, I'm sorry, JD. Okay, yeah, I just, point of clarity. Thank you.
For the record, I just want to make a note that in our comment sheet, our public commitment sheet here, that Mr. Williams didn't sign up to speak. So he is violating our rules. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the secondary plat.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
6, I think I count 6.
All those against? And I vote
2.
present.
Vote how? I'm sorry, Mike?
Present?
Present. So that'd be 6 for, 2 against, and present for 1.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. New business or old business?
Oh, new business, we gotta do this calendar. Oh, I'm sorry, you're right. Number 5 is first, and you gotta follow the rules.
Mr. Bennett, permits and inspections, sir.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
27 and 87. Okay.
Next.
And that's from October and November. Through the end of, right, through the end of November. Okay. All right, I'm sorry. That
That's
was
okay. We have the sheet that shows the planning commission schedule. Do we have a motion to approve this? Are there any questions about it?
Just as a point, just so everybody knows, the filing date is this year for January, even though it's next year's meeting, so.
Do we have a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
I think that's unanimous.
All 9 votes. Thank you. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All those in favor? Jamie? All 9 votes. Thank you.